writes, "My purpose is firm through every trial and tribulation. Between eternity, my flag is flying open. This is me, whose procession is proceeding through the stages of centuries. This is my coffin being carried through nations. Do you know that my chest is wounded, my liver is bloodied? Do you know that my arms have been cut off? Against my dead bodies, fighters of ages upon ages have been strapped themselves. I will make common against oppressors the hatred of all people. I will make oppressors infamous in the whole world." It is to Elia's irony that I want to make some references to now that requires no further explanation than a visceral experience of his poetry, like the following, in which he mocks the creation of humanity and human itself, whether male or female. I ask, is this child of Adam and Eve who will be present in the presence of God? O species of Adam, do not imagine your genealogists are unaware. You are of a dirty liquid you claim, spilled by unknown desires. I wish to unhitch all their stitches, because this human, this supposedly highest creation of fabric of existence, is completely wrongly woven. Here lies Elia's anti-humanism, I would claim. But this anti-humanism falls alongside his existentialist meditations. I'm getting drowsy, I'm falling, but in whose side will the doors of the eyelids close? His anti-humanism mixed with his existentialism is brought together in the ending, where he himself becomes unaware whether he is within, that is behind his eyelids, or the one who is left on the outside of the eyelids before sleep takes over. But his existentialism suddenly takes on a Marxist hue in another tablet poem. A strong flood emerges itself from life, and you are in that place of that strong flood. They won't find any protectors, those who are protecting you today. Those of you rejecting working class consciousness, this is all you're doing. And my criminals and your criminals should be brought out in an open court. Those who have passed on and those before them should testify. The wounds that have been made on the spirit, these wounds should be shown to all. If Elia had read English, he would have agreed with Keats's Keats's view of the embodied long-held association between bodily consumption, the bodily eating away of organs, and literary genius, which he himself interpreted as a necessary balance between human affliction and the highest production of art. As Keats writes, "Do you not see how necessary a world of pains and troubles is to school an intelligence and make it a soul?" Elia's poems are not a male poet's feminist expressions. They are, I argue, utterly and in material terms feminist, identifying not only with the class position of oppressed women, but the very oppression of their, in Rebecca Lynch's words, who's a good friend of mine, an anthropologist in UCL, where she describes aging women's experiences as of their liquid bodies. That's her term. Which Elia uses rather aptly in his poetic state of spitting blood, which is also a form of tuberculosis and its impact, which Keats writes about earlier. A metaphor he made use of the highest of poetic creativity, very much like Keats does, due to an experience of human pain and suffering. For example, note the following poem here, which mixes the poetic act with menstruation. In the dump was lying a menstrual cloth, which it desires most sophisticated humans, a poet's strongest color. The color is musical, and this menstrual cloth is a frozen music, which is lying on this dump. The neighbor woman color, and of what lies between her thighs, pick up the tune, put it in the pocket. I am that I am. I go around with all my music in my pocket. That on my lips every hearer is desolate, and the pleasures are of my own body. Every tune of my lips is dying. It is crying in my chest, and sleeps are the organs of my breath, and the breath is silent. And my silence, if it is anywhere, is in the pockets, and the threads of the pockets are tearing apart. The failure of adequate communication here, I would argue, is a theme emerging at the heart of my own research ambitions into the Urdu literary genre. However, a failure of adequate meaning does not mean one does not try to communicate. And this is where I would like to introduce Elia's invitation for a radical critique that is not located in culture itself, but is an embodied radical critique of sexual difference and of all its related origin mythologies. This embodied critique is both of maleness as much as it is of femaleness, since poetic ironic rage is centered here on the reproductive act itself. This is a male and this a female. Thousands of competitors escaping from their source have chosen a male. Sinful for all time are this pair. I wonder which botched design of creation are this pair. Supposedly forever sinful, they hide their genitals, they stand their lips parted. You have the imagery of Adam and Eve coming to your mind perhaps. This is a mockery of me. Are they crying or laughing? This one who speaks all about himself does not feel any remorse. He is strange. He deserves my pity. Wombs that are full of his excess. And then he washes away the leftovers. This washer of leftovers is very strange. He deserves my pity. The ironic rage of Elia is not theistic, I argue. To the contrary, it is utterly anti-theistic. As I mentioned in the beginning of my intervention, like irony, anger often acts as an instrument of truth, pointing out injustices, betrayals, and false states of affairs, and seeking to even scores. I'd like to end my intervention with a confession of failure, of my own failure, translating Elia adequately into poetic English, and also with Elia's admission of failure at adequately expressing to understand the human condition and answer the question, why? What is this? And which one is it? This is of my moment or of that moment. Are they both one? One they are and one they're not. And all that I have uttered, either it is the scam of my father, which I believed in, or it is his grace which a father left his son in the world without a means of survival. My father was great and he was my teacher, but all teachers are liars. And lie is the teacher of two, one human and one God. Both are the students of lies. They have been teaching and learning from each other, but now I have stopped completely teaching and learning God. It has been quite a while. If he is not, then 100 times regret that godly God is not. Then tonight, in the middle of this night's roundness and in its quiet corners, why is there any evil? Thank you for lending an ear, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me.